Shisui's character was never done justice. I mean, how strong was he really? We have no clue, but we can speculate. And I figured, you know what, we'll never get more Shisui content, so let me just make a We Have Shisui at Home Naruto What If and see how this goes. So definitely make sure to show some support by dropping a like if this interests you, so I can keep making more part to the series. That said, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
We start our story off with a young Naruto pretty much getting picked on by some villagers. Eventually it would lead to something greater, and Naruto would begin to actually get beat on by these villagers relatively near to a place that Naruto loves, Ichiraku Ramen. Now, at Ichiraku Ramen, somebody would be just enjoying himself a nice little bowl of ramen until he hears a kid screaming, and then he hears adults beating on somebody. He looks outside to check out the situation, doesn't even pay for his bowl, says he'll be right back. And then, looking outside, he would see a little kid literally getting beat on by adults. He'd be like, what's going on? And before he even is like, oh, like maybe I should ask why they're hitting him, he literally just acts. Shisui, immediately using the body flicker technique, grabs Naruto amidst the confusion and would be able to take him out of that situation so fast that none of those villagers could have even kept up with it. Naruto would now be looking up to Shisui, and Shisui would ask him what happened. Naruto, not being able to look up at Shisui, would say that they were beating him for being a demon again, or whatever that means. And Shisui would be like, a demon? Those guys are dumb. I mean, look at you, kid. You're about as normal as it can get. I mean, except for those little whiskers, but other than that, you're fine. And Naruto would say, yeah, thanks. What's your name? Shisui from here would be like, the name's Shisui Uchiha. Don't forget it. Oh, and the next time that they give you a hard time, just, you know, maybe run away or something. Naruto would say that he tried, but ultimately they caught up to him, and Naruto was just too weak and slow to keep up with these villagers or even defend himself. That's when Shisui would say, well, kid, how's about you train? Become a ninja or something. You know, I did it. And Naruto would be like, how were you moving so fast? You got me out of that situation before I even knew it. And Shisui just looks over to Naruto, smirks, and says, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, kid. It's called the body flicker. Very, very useful technique. You should consider learning it someday. Might just save your life. Naruto looks at the direction of Shisui, smiles, and then says, maybe someday. And from here, Shisui walks away, and Naruto was just left to think, what a great guy. From here, Naruto begins making his way home, and once he arrives, Naruto would pretty much end up just kind of having a normal 2-day streak. Eventually, villagers would begin to be mean to him, not exactly beating him, but they're just being cruel. I mean, bro literally wasn't doing nothing. He was literally just existing, and villagers were being terrible to him. So he got tired of it. He decides to go over towards Hiruzen's office, and he would be like, Hiruzen, old man, can you train me or help me get stronger? The villagers are pretty mean, and honestly, I need to defend myself. I want to become a powerful ninja someday and become Hokage just like you. And Hiruzen would say, Naruto, I can't begin training you. I mean, you're too young. You couldn't even keep up with any of the training regimens I'd offer. And Naruto says, is there anything you could do, like, at all? Hiruzen, once he looks at the eyes of Naruto and sees that he's determined and honestly he's kind of desperate for this, he would think back to what Kushina asked of him before she died, and she said, please take care of my Naruto. Hiruzen, in a moment of guilt, would then cave under the pressure, handing Naruto a very, very basic scroll on chakra control. And so Naruto would decide to train and stop being weak. He would finally, for the first time in his life, truly put all of his effort into becoming as powerful as he can and learning from scroll after scroll, asking Hiruzen about a certain technique after a couple of months, which would be the body flicker technique. and eventually after making some progress, he would end up learning of the death of Shisui Uchiha, not to mention the death of his entire clan. This would hit hard for Naruto, because of the fact that Naruto looked up to Shisui Uchiha as a beacon of light, but now it's gone. And he promises to himself that he's going to be keeping his legacy alive. He visits his grave often, at least 2 times a week, and Naruto makes sure that if he's doing anything, it's training and getting strong, trying to get to that level where that kid was, being so fast that people couldn't even tell where he was. And he wants to get to that point to show everybody that his legacy lives, you know? Now he's going to become Kage, and he has to live for somebody else now, not just himself. So he would amp up his training, and eventually he would end up asking Hiruzen for even more training, telling him that he needs to get stronger, that the training that he's doing is fine, but he needs to advance more rapidly. And eventually, you shall ask and you shall receive. He would get what he asked for, and after school would train for hours on end. He stays in the academy and leaves Sasuke to himself all this time, deciding that it would probably be better to give him space. I mean, that's the only thing Naruto wanted when he found out of Shisui Uchiha's death. He took an entire 2 days off of training, but eventually he got back to it. After a couple of years would pass following the Uchiha massacre, Naruto would eventually be placed on Team 7 alongside Sakura, Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Everybody else would have their senseis arrive except for Team 7. And it would be at this moment that Naruto finally decides that he's gonna speak to Sasuke. He goes over to him and says, "So, did you ever meet somebody by the name of Shisui Uchiha?" And Sasuke looks at his direction with a weird reaction, asking him how in the world he knows that name. Naruto would say that a long time ago he saved him and that Shisui was a hero. Sasuke says of course he knows that name, but that's not a name that he should know or mention, considering he's dead now. And Naruto would say that he feels fine mentioning it, because his only sole purpose of living is to make sure that he can keep the memory of Shisui alive. He knows Shisui was a great guy, and if Shisui was still around, he would probably tell Naruto something like, "Get stronger, kid, train." And hearing those words, Sasuke could just imagine Shisui saying that. Naruto at this point would have actually ended up having his hair dyed black because he wanted to resemble Shisui, so no longer was his blue hair around. And Naruto even ended up asking the Hokage about what he could do to change his eye color. So Hiruzen places a color changing seal in his eyes and changes his eye color from their normal blue to a red, just literally red. It doesn't look weird. It's no Sharingan. They're just red. And Sasuke looks at the direction of Naruto and would be like, "You're a bit strange, Naruto, but honestly, I like your style. Shisui was a great guy, and I used to know him quite a bit. A long time ago, I thought that he was weaker to somebody, but now I know that that somebody was never a good person. My goal is to take care of somebody else, while your goal is to try to live for someone. I didn't think you had that in you, Naruto. I thought you were just a goofball, but maybe you're not as bad as I thought." Naruto smiles, and Sasuke for the first time would kind of have a slight chuckle on his face. Eventually, a man with gray hair, a mask, and a shinobi Leaf Village headband on his face would come in, and he would end up telling them all to meet him outside on the roof. They would all do so, and eventually he would tell them about the bell test. They would meet up tomorrow at the bell test training grounds the next day, and eventually once Kakashi would end up arriving late, he would end up telling them all of the rules of the bell test, explaining to them exactly how this is going to work and what they're going to be needing to do in order to become full-fledged shinobis. They would all pretty much be getting ready to take this test, and Naruto would immediately recognize the falsity of this test. Never in the history of Konoha has there been a 3-man team. It's always 3 genin and 1 sensei. So Naruto caught on to something very, very quickly. And seeing as Naruto has been doing nothing but looking at scrolls, studying, and actually taking his education seriously, this version of Naruto isn't the knuckle-headed ninja that he would be in the original, and Naruto isn't even the one who would get tricked by Mizuki, considering that he didn't even try to trick Naruto. Instead, he tried it with somebody else who wasn't even successful in stealing the scroll, and shortly after, Mizuki was captured when the kid was captured and told them about Mizuki's test and how, he told them to meet him at a certain location. Because of this, Naruto would immediately end up backing away with his teammates, making his way into a bush where he would remain right next to Sasuke. Looking to Sasuke, he would tell Sasuke that something's up with this test. Never in the history of Konoha has there been a 3-man squad, and that there has to be some sort of catch to this test. He doubts that the real reason of this is to actually grab the bell, considering that they are Genin and he's a Jonin. If he really wanted to, they would never even get their hands on the bells. He'd have to heavily hold back if anything. So it has to be something else. Sasuke would think for a second and he would say, I mean, the only point that I could see would be is trying to put us against each other. And Naruto would be like, that's it. He's trying to pit us up against one another. So this is a teamwork test, right? And Sasuke thinks about it and he's like, you know, you're right. It might just be that. Naruto, looking towards the direction of Sasuke, would smile and tell him, well then let's just show him how much teamwork we have. Sakura, what are your strengths and weaknesses? She would say that, you know, she just is decent at shuriken throwing and that, you know, she's more of a just like she would just try to make up some fake like strengths, but Naruto can see right through it. He's like, okay, looks like you don't have a lot of strengths, but we can work with it. Sakura, you're going to serve as a diversion. I'm going to create a clone that's going to go and attack Kakashi. And Sasuke, you can just come with me. I've seen how impressive you are, so I'm going to say that you're going to be the lead attacker. I'll be your backup, and Sakura, you'll be our surprise attack and the bait. And then me and Sasuke, whichever comes first, will try to get our hands on the bells. Sakura would be like, I'm not listening to you, Naruto. And then Sasuke would say, come on, let's stick to one plan. And Sakura would be like, okay, Sasuke-kun. Afterwards, Naruto would kind of snarl at the fact that she's only going to listen to Sasuke, but whatever. Whatever he needs to do to pass the test is exactly what Naruto would do. Slightly before the test would start, Naruto would think to himself about, you know, if this plan is even going to work, but ultimately he steals his resolve and would do exactly what he would told him. Sakura would come in, throw a couple shuriken at the direction of Kakashi, and he would be shocked that she was the first one to act. Suddenly, he would dodge out of the way, and Naruto would end up coming in with a shadow clone as it would come down with a thunderous kick. A very, very fast shadow clone, mind you. Right? The thunderous kick would come down on Kakashi, Kakashi would dodge it, and he would actually interact with the clone as if it was the real Naruto. I mean, the clone itself was so powerful that Kakashi truly did think that it was Naruto, but this is when another Naruto comes in and, you know, Kakashi would be shocked. He'd be like, what? But it would be at this moment that Naruto would come in with a kick, a lot slower actually, and then get thrown up into the air by Kakashi's arm, which would parry out of the way and send Sasuke, who would be transformed into Naruto, up into the air, and Sasuke would then use a fireball jutsu right in the face of Kakashi, which Kakashi would substitute out of the way of, and once Kakashi would substitute out of the way, Naruto, using the body flicker technique, would appear right next to Kakashi as he would throw a punch right at the face of Kakashi, which he would end up dodging and grabbing with one hand before beginning to squeeze it, Sakura throwing a couple shuriken, and Sasuke coming in for a taijutsu barrage at Kakashi. Kakashi being extremely surprised that the team is actually working together, and then ultimately he would end up throwing Naruto back, which would dispel into a clone, and the real Naruto, using his true speed, would come in as he throws a punch at Kakashi's face, actually landing it, sending Kakashi flying back as he would pop into smoke, and it would be revealed that it was nothing but a shadow clone. Naruto would then be about to get hit with the worst jutsu of all time, the 1000 years of death, but Naruto would evade it because he's just so fast. Using the body flicker, he would escape with his life, and Kakashi wouldn't have to have Nutella on his fingers. But Sasuke coming in would shoot another fireball style jutsu at him, and Naruto would say wind style, wind bullet jutsu, shooting a wind bullet at the fireball, which would make it grow 2 times in size, and Kakashi would be absolutely stunned. Eventually their barrage would continue, and then Kakashi would hold out one hand in front of himself, saying, they pass. They would all be like, yeah, and then Kakashi would tell them that they definitely figured out the point of the test, didn't they? Naruto would say that it was easy. He was just trying to pit them up against each other, wasn't he? And Kakashi would say that that's exactly what he was trying to do. That he's surprised that they even realized it. Before then telling them, tell you what, he's taking you guys out to eat. You guys are the first team that I've ever gotten. And you guys made me proud. And so, with none of them being tied up to the stump, they make their way towards Ichiraku Ramen, where on their way they would see a strange billboard that says, fandom. And Naruto would think, what's fandom?
As anime fans, we love to show our support to our favorite shows by rocking anime apparel. But something I'm pretty sure we can all agree on is it's so expensive. So I've partnered up with Fandom to bring you all affordable, high quality anime merch that you are sure to love. And if you use my code Xehther at checkout, you can even get an extra 10% off the already affordable merch. Keep in mind, it does come from overseas sellers, so its sizing is going to be different since it's overseas. That said, let's get back into the video.
Continuing on with the story, after having their delicious meal at Ichiraku, they would all pretty much end up just making their way in different locations, and eventually 2 weeks worth of worthless missions would happen in which they have to rescue cats, walk old ladies down the street, not really, get groceries for people, and do yard work and stuff like that. Eventually, after all of that would happen, Naruto would end up formally requesting a different mission from Hiruzen, seeing as the relationship is a bit different than the one that they have in canon, and Hiruzen would actually accept, to the surprise of Kakashi. But you know, it was great the way that Naruto handled it, and everything that he did was honestly just fine. He didn't think that Naruto had such like quote unquote classiness to him. But Hiruzen accepts, and ultimately a drunken man in a weird weary state comes in, just slurring his words all over the place, being Tazuna, the bridge builder. Naruto, looking at him, would think to himself that he has a couple of screws loose. And Tazuna walks in, and the first thing he would do is berate his team, mainly focusing his attentions on Sakura Haruno, who would get the main brunt of it. And internally, she'd be screaming to herself, "Cha!" But ultimately on the surface, she just has a fake smile up, and she would be thinking to herself that she wants to tear that old man limb from limb. Ultimately though, they end up meeting at the village gates about 1 day later, and once there, Kakashi would tell them to keep their guards up as they make their way to the mission of the Land of Waves. On their way there, about 30 minutes into the mission actually, they end up encountering a duo of ninjas, bandits to be exact, the two legendary demon brothers. They end up rushing in the direction of the bridge builder, and Naruto, upon using the body flicker, would be able to outspeed both of them, being able to land 2 thunderous blows on each of them before Sasuke was even able to react. Following this, Sasuke looks at Naruto with a look of shock on his face as he asks him what in the world that was, and Naruto says that it was the body flicker, that he picked it up from Shisui. And Sasuke would be shocked, because he truly did move as fast as he remembers Shisui back in the day. Maybe not as fast, but you get the memo. And ultimately, Sasuke would smile knowing that Naruto truly is someday maybe gonna be just like him. He'd think that he's missing a Sharingan or two, but ultimately he can't get his hands on that anyway, so he's gonna have to make do with what he has. Naruto continues on with the mission with his team, and it would be at this point that a white bunny would cross their path. Naruto throws a kunai at this direction, and he would find that this bunny was completely terrified out of its mind. Naruto would wonder to himself what a wintertime rabbit is doing out in the open right now, and it would be at this moment that a gigantic blade would be flung at them from a random direction. Ultimately, Kakashi would look at the team, react barely, and say, "Get down!"